Okay, guys, so just a real quick update today on my adventures in 40K. So I found these lizard riders, they called them, on Cults 3D, and I thought, man, okay, first off, let me back up just a little bit. I have been wanting to have some cavalry, basically, for Space Marines, and I had picked up these Tamiya Raptors, which I thought would be really cool to have, somebody riding. And it still is, but I had found these on Cults 3D, and they're called Lizard Riders. Well, come to find out, none of the organized Space Marine chapters have riding, creatures, Marines riding creatures. So, okay, great. Well, but I want one. I could do a custom chapter, but I thought, I'm going to do an obscure chapter that I've really been wanting to do that most people don't know a whole lot about anyway. And, well, it's my chapter, so I'm going to have them mounted on these lizards. So we're going to go over how I painted them real quick. We're going to take a look at them. So this first one, and again, these aren't 100% finished. I put him on this base to begin with just because I needed a base on him. And I thought, well, that works. And what I had done, and you'll notice these 3D printed, yeah, you guys know what they are. And they fit really, really, really good. I have the up arrow here, and I've got those, right here that I've done, and yeah, they do. They fit really good. Okay, well, we have the halo, the iron halo with the flame, and you saw that on another project I did. I thought this would be a good one to put on here. And these Spartan type helmets, I love them, but trying to find it, I know there is a faction that has something similar to that, but I wanted kind of my own deal here. And so I went ahead and printed some of these. And you can see, I think it's one of these I edge highlighted. I guess it's not this one. And I still haven't put my wash on him. So he's not finished. But anyway, he comes with this little chain sword. And kind of a neat little chain sword. It says, I think, Nocturne on it. I felt that the best one to do here was the dark Krakens. And so I found a 3D print for them. And I went ahead and did these, and I think they turned out really good. So for the dark Krakens, cool. And they're going to be mounted. And I thought, well, if they're going to be mounted, cavalry, what the heck, let's put a cape on them. So I 3D printed a bunch of capes, which you can see in the pile here. There's a lot of 3D printed capes that I have. So I went ahead and put a 3D cape on them. This cool one has these tassels here, and this one here, but it also has these stones. And I decided to go ahead and do mine in green with gold around them. There's one on each side here, and then there's one up top here and one on the other side. But they're really hard to see when you get the backpack on. So anyway, for the purple on here, I used the game color Alien Purple. Okay, that's for the purple color. And then just black and some Templar black for the rest of it. And then a gray, this gray right here actually. Sombre gray for any of the edge highlighting that I've done. I think it's the other one I've got more edge highlighting on. Anyway, for the lizard, the print came out good, and all I did was primed him in black, and then I gave him a dry brush first of Sick Green by Vallejo. And then I went over with a light dry brush of the Scorpy Green. Let's see, there we go, the Scorpy Green. And that's all I used as far as the dry brushing on here. You see, I did the red mouth and some kind of white teeth. Maybe you can see, yeah, the red eyeballs, and then of course the black. And I just put some future over the black. The Vallejo, what is it? It's just black. But anyway, yeah, I just use this, and I just put some future over it to get the the glossy look there. And again on these spikes here. And because I wanted a contrasting base, I went ahead and I just took one of my that I'd done in green and went over it with some Avalon Sunset for the base, and I dry brushed a little bit of flash glitz yellow on to pick up the highlights. And it didn't turn out too bad. Again, he's not quite finished. Used a gray, kind of a neutral gray for the crest on him there. So, yeah, whoa! If I can get him to focus, he actually looks pretty darn good. I wanted a bigger base, and so I found these nice oval bases. I think it's 100 millimeter. Let's see here. I can't remember. How big is it? It's 120 millimeter the one way, and like 90 millimeter or something like that the other way. But really kind of a neat looking base. And after I printed it, they turned out great. They have little holes in the bottom for if you want to put in some magnets. And I'll show you the one I'm still working on here. It's still kind of gooey. I used the Avalon Sunset over gray, over a light gray primer. And then I used the Flash Glitz Yellow to pick up you can see the highlights here. The rocks, I used a highlight flesh from AK. Okay. I used that actually on the rocks as the base. And then, of course, I gave everything a wash of the light oxidization, rust, whatever. And then I gave it a wash, the darker wash, with this. And then I came back and just highlighted it with some light gray. I think mostly what I used was, like on the wood, I used Wraithbone. And I think for the base I used Wraithbone. Did the two washes and then came back again with some Wraithbone on here. But with this, I used a little bit of Wraithbone, and then I also used, I think just Korax White, I think, is what I hit the tops of this with. And this had come in my Age of Sigmar. These mushrooms had come in my Age of Sigmar bases that I had. And so I went ahead and put some of them on here. These tufts that I got off of Amazon, and then some of those Battlefield trophies set. I can't remember what faction they are, but you can see the skulls there. And I put a few skulls around the base here. Again, this is the washes and the dry brushing technique here. I used a brown for the, and you can see it better here, for the base of the bricks. Can't remember the brown I used, but it was just a craft paint. And then I came back with, it's called Base Flesh, and that's what I dry brushed the edges of these bricks with. Now for this, I've got I don't have it here handy, it's out in the doghouse, but I went ahead and it's a green and a yellow fluorescent that I put the green down first while it was still wet, mixed in a little bit of the yellow to give it this effect, and then went over it with some future for now. I will come back with a clear resin and put a little bit more clear resin on here so it looks more like something actually wet than just this. But you get the idea of where I'm going with that. Here's another mushroom. And you see, this is a little bit different mount. So this one's like creeping, where the other one was galloping. This one's just kind of creeping along. And I decided to change out the arm to a, and yeah, I don't have the edge of the palindromes painted black on this one yet, so I still got to finish it. But did a little bit of edge highlighting, and the cape on here, I think I just started out with white, and then I used some of the sombre gray that was watered way down to get into the nooks and crannies, and do a little bit of shading. What do they call it? Glazing. Just a little bit of glazing to try and, get the tones a little bit better. And then I went over the top with some Corax white, so it's kind of a grayish color. And that's how I got the cape on him. So I think that's about it as far as you see how that palindrome turned out. It's actually pretty darn cool. I don't have anyone on this side yet. I still need to put something on this side, but you guys get the idea of how it turned out. So that's what I've been doing this week. A bunch of other stuff too. Made this print. I can't remember which one of the Ultramarines he is. He's the chapter master. Why he's chained down, I don't know. His head's around here somewhere, but I recently painted it, so I'm trying to get it finished. I still have to do the gold on him. So, but he was a kind of a neat sculpt to do. I've got this as a work in progress. It's called Marine Babysitter, and I decided to go ahead and do a salamander. You can do a couple of different chapters they give you the palindromes for, which is neat. One of them is the salamanders. So they're supposed to be walking side by side, and he's supposed to be holding her hand. I just have them on here so I can get them painted. And then once they're painted and finished, then I'll put them in a better diorama with a better base and whatnot. But you kind of get the idea. It was a pretty neat little sculpt that I did. I guess he's a captain. He's got a captain helmet, supposedly. So, and then for some friends that are into D&D, I've just did a few D&D figures for them. Some of them they're going to go ahead and finish painting, and then I painted their goblins for them, but just very basic. I know it's not Warhammer, but you get the idea. They're kind of cool looking though. They're in pretty close to the same scale. Give you some idea how big the flippin' Marines are. These guys are huge, of course. And then for those of you who've noticed it, I just wanted to show you the shot glass I did that I 3D printed and got painted up. But I got to get an insert for it because obviously this isn't food grade resin, so I'm not going to be drinking anything out of that just yet, but we got to do that. So that's kind of where we're at this week with Mad Dog's Adventures in 40K. The dark Krakens, which that purple and black I think is really neat. Then on the green, a green creature, you can do whatever color, but I think the green was a good contrast. And then the light colored capes. I don't know, I like how they turned out. And I'm not going to do a whole bunch of them, obviously, just a couple, but thought this was kind of a fun little project. So thanks for joining us today, folks, and we will see you again soon.